Welcome to today's Tech Talk. Our topic today is going to be leading through disruption, how to manage a dispersed workforce. My name is Joe Flynn, Director of Technical Architecture at Insight, and I'm joined here today by Mike Gaumond, my leader, Senior VP of Insight's Connected Workforce. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, sir. So let's jump right into it. We all hear how things are forced to change the past 6 months and why. But for today's conversation, I want to skip the what, the how, the why. And let's just move on to how do we handle the new norm of a dispersed hybrid workforce? In a recent article you wrote, Mike, you described that a dispersed workforce is a shift in where work actually gets done on a regular basis, right? The where could be remote, could be on site, it could be a hybrid of both. That shift we not only see in our workforce today, we see it at home with our kids, right? Our kids and doing virtual schooling, hybrid schooling. In this discussion, I want to cover three main topics of a dispersed workforce. First is going to be cost and modernization, then culture, and then lastly, work-life balance, which we know has always been difficult in the past, but it's even harder today. So let's start with cost and modernization. IDG released a report saying that CIOs are more concerned with cost control. But on the flip side, CEOs are more concerned about employees' experience and a digital transformation. Mike, you lead an organization. I'm one of those people, right? And within Insight, you have workers that work remote and you have workers that are in the office. Many of us are remote today. Between the resources that work for you and all the customer conversations you have, where do you see the balance between cost modernization and employee experience?
I think it's a great question. And, cost is certainly a consideration, and it always will be. But the focus I see is really on the modernization and the employee's work experience. And your IDG quote was interesting because, over time, you almost always see the CEO's priority becomes the CIO's priority. So you'll begin to see that shift. So I hear a lot from clients. One of the best parts of my job is I get to spend a lot of time with them and I listen. I listen to what they're frustrated and what they're challenged with and what their priorities are. But there's a huge focus on providing a compelling experience to the employees in their organization, right? So they view the employees in their organization as their customers, and they see it as their job, whether those employees are working remotely or on site, to provide a compelling experience with technology. And ultimately, they want to do that so that their company can make those employees productive and retain them so that they don't lose them, to their competition. And what I hear a lot these days is corporations saying they want to deliver a consumer-like experience for technology to their employees. So think of when you go get a new iPhone, right? You go to the Apple store, you get a new phone, you log in with your credentials, all your apps come down, all your contacts come down, everything's ready. There's no big setup, right? You walk out of the Apple store and you're ready to go. They want the same experience on a laptop or a tablet or a desktop in their environment. So we're seeing a big push towards that from an experience perspective.
Correct.
We're seeing a big push towards security, right? So as more and more employees went remote, the surface area for security attacks got much, much larger. In fact, there were articles out I read that a very high percentage of employees didn't even have secure Wi-Fi, in their home. Right, so there's some big security risks out there, and I think those are the factors that I hear about from the clients and get them to want to drive towards to really delivering that compelling experience. Yes, do it on a cost-effective basis, but deliver that experience.
No, and I too have those conversations of bringing the consumer experience into the corporate world, and I agree. It's a common conversation that we see many customers want more and more. Absolutely.
Yeah. Once somebody experiences it on the consumer side, they kind of come back to work and say, why can't it be the same here?
Exactly. So now let's dig into company culture. Here at Insight, our values are heart, hunger, and harmony. And one thing I could say about every company I've ever worked for, they're really shown here at Insight and they're really communicated from the top down. I think all of our leadership drives it quite well throughout the company. While in the office, though, it's much easier to walk by someone, brighten their day with a conversation, make them feel connected or engaged. I can tell you just from my own experience dealing with you. I would travel to Phoenix, I would work into the Tempe office, and you would always seem to stop by, say hi, carry a conversation, whether it was about football or whether it was something around work. but it made me feel like engaged, right? It made me feel connected because I wasn't always in the office. But with the new norm today, working remotely, many people find that it's harder to get those relationships, right? To feel engaged or stay involved. What are your suggestions that people, both leadership and coworkers, can do to help peers stay involved and not be left out on an island?
Yeah, I think it's another really good question because, very clearly building and sustaining culture when many people are remote is more difficult than if you can get people together for extended periods of time in the office. So it absolutely creates some real challenges. And, I certainly don't have all the answers, but a few suggestions. One is I highly encourage folks to use video for the conversations between your teammates, even if it's one-on-one or if it's in a group setting. There's a lot of studies out there that show that something like 70% of communication is nonverbal. So if you don't have the video, you're missing out on almost 3/4 of the information that's being conveyed between two or more people. So that's a big gap. And in the remote world, people might be a little reticent to do that because, they dress more casually at home, or they're worried about, their kids or their pet showing up on the video. I'll tell you a quick story. One of our marketing execs, we were on a call with about half a dozen of us, and we were all on video, and she's in her home office, I'm in my home office. And her teenage daughter, you can see the office door opens up. Her teenage daughter walks up to her mom, gives her a hug and a kiss, and then just turns around and walks out and closes the door. And the exec's really quickly trying to cover up the camera or whatever. And I know her pretty well, so I messaged her and I said, "Don't cover it up." I go, "That just made my day. Like, it warmed my heart to see that," right? So, when we see other people and we see their pets or their kids or their spouses, and it helps build that connection, even though we're not there with them. A second thing I would suggest is, and I do this with my team, so I have twice a week, 30-minute touch points with my leadership team. We try really hard not to talk about work. We just say, "How's it going? How's the family? How are the kids? Got any interesting plans for the weekends? Who's your favorite football team?" Just try to replicate some of the kind of chat you might have had in the hallway, right? So that's something we do as well. And I think the last thing I'd highlight here is that, it's tough with employees like you and I who know each other, and it's easy for us to have a conversation, Joe. But if you were brand new, right, it's even, new employee, it's even more challenging. So, you might need more touch points with a new employee than a tenured employee. You might need to establish a buddy, someone they could reach out to just ask the silly questions that's not their boss, which is what they would do in the hallway. So, I think it's great, and it's one of the tougher things about this remote environment.
No, I like two things you mentioned is video. I think it is important for people to encourage the use of video, but I also think in many organizations, it has to be done from the top down, right? I think when we join calls and we see like yourself and our CEO, Ken Lemnick, on the call, who are always on video, that's encouraging. So that makes everyone else, or more people, shall I say, want to turn on video and start engaging. And I agree, right? I'm sure when we have conversations, you probably see me rolling my eyes or something like that.
Exactly.
So body language and facial expressions tend to say more than actually just voice sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. You can see if somebody's nodding their head, shaking their head, looking confused or looking upset, and you cue in on that very, very quickly. But if you don't have the visual, you have no idea.
Correct. I got to refrain my facial expressions when we actually bring up your football team. So I think we're good there. So the last topic is definitely the hardest for me, right? It's achieving the healthy work-life balance. And I will say I'm probably one of the worst role models in that scenario. But a study that Microsoft had recently done saying with the recent times, they have seen more people are on average of working 3 to 4 hours more a day. But on the flip side of that, they're saying people are also stepping away during the day to possibly run an errand, take care of kids. Because remember I said previously, right? Kids are possibly homeschooled, they're hybrid, they're virtual, and there's a lot to do. Some people have to pick up their kids back and forth. So it is a pain point today for many people. So, and we actually see that here at Insight. We ran our own reports, we ran our own tests, and we see our employees are doing similar things where they're working later, starting earlier, but they are stepping out during the day. As a leader within Insight, actually one of my leaders, right? What do you suggest that other leaders do with their employees or help their employees achieve a better balance in their work-life routines?
Yeah, another really interesting topic in the remote world, right? So the blurry line between your work life and your personal life just got a lot blurrier, because you're in your house for many of us, for example. So, a few things I would do. One is try to establish some fairly regular hours. Don't accept every one of those early morning and late evening meetings that we all get, sent to all the time. So that's a piece of it. A second one is what you touched on, which is build some breaks into the day where you can go walk the dog, talk to your kids, your spouse, or just walk around the block or go get a cup of coffee, right? We need that break to kind of get away and shift gears and then refocus. And then the other thing I would suggest is building some time to think and to work, right? So it's really easy for us to fall into this very reactionary mode, which is I'm just going from meeting to meeting and IM to IM and email to email, and I'm not stepping back and thinking. And there's lots of research out there that shows, if we work too many hours, that errors go up and creativity goes down, right? And that's not good for the individual or the company. So I encourage the team, take some time, carve out some time to think and to strategize and to think about what we could do differently with our clients or with our teammates. And then come back and figure out, okay, now let's put the plan in place to go and execute on that.
Absolutely. I got to say, one of the technologies I love and been taking advantage of is focus mode. So with the Office in the cloud, has an option of it will automatically schedule you focus times during the day, so you can block out times to do what you say. Maybe it's take a walk, maybe it's even getting work done. Because I've seen just in my own calendaring a lot of 30-minute meetings pop up, and if you don't schedule the focus time to just stand up, walk around, or get something done, it tends to be very difficult to get through your day.
Exactly. You'll just be wall to wall with that, 10 hours a day.
Agreed. So Mike, great conversation. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully looking forward to another one with you. But again, I think it was awesome conversation overall.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it. And the Packers are still better.
Have a good day, sir. We'll leave it on that topic.
Take care.